Salve viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Phaedrus' Fables. This is where I am translating just a selection of fables by the Roman Phaedrus, translating from the original Latin into English. Not into poetic English, though. The original Latin is poetry. It's in verse, iambic hexameter specifically. And I'm terrible with translating Latin poetry, so I'm just making it prose. I don't care. Last time was a very long fable, but an interesting one, in my opinion. This time, we've got a much shorter one, thankfully, because last time was really long. And we get to see a friend. Somebody that anyone that studies ancient Europe ought to know. A good old Socrates. Socrates ad amicos. Socrates to his friends. Or, from the first sentence, maybe just to friends. So, vulgare amici nomen. Amici sed rara est fides. Kind of. So, vulgare is the nominative or accusative singular from the adjective vulgaris, which means common or plain. So, I guess common amici could be either the nominative plural or the genitive singular of amicus, which means friend. Here, I've marked it as the genitive singular, so of friend. Don't know if it's a friend or the friend or what. Nomen is the nominative singular, and it means a name. And I think it's not going to make sense, at least to us, until we finish the sentence. Sed is a conjunction that just means but. Rara, which is actually really fun to say. Rara. Rara. It is from Arados, an adjective meaning rare. And this is feminine, I believe just nominative singular feminine, to go with fides. Vulgare is nominative singular neuter to go with nomen, and rara is feminine singular to go with fides. But I haven't really marked them as modifying them because est, third person singular, present active indicative from sum, so is, and because of that, they're not acting like they're modifying the nouns. It's just that they're predicate nominatives. But I guess because they're just working with is. So the name of friend is common, basically. So friend, well, really, basically the name is common. It's not really modifying it as an adjective. It's just working with the verb to be. But rare is fides. Fides it could mean faith or belief, reliance, trust, or what I think it is here, loyalty. But loyalty is rare. In fact, I think to translate, we're already using est in both parts of the sentence. I think I'm going to use amici as well with fides. So the name of a friend is common, but the loyalty of a friend is rare. That is our moral of the day. It's easy to call someone a friend, but it's far rarer for somebody who is a friend to truly be loyal, to have a true friend. And apparently Socrates is going to teach us this lesson. Cum parvas aides sibi fundaset Socrates. Cum, as a conjunction, means when, because if it's a preposition, it has to take the ablative, and there's no ablative here, so it's got to be the conjunction when. Parvas is from parvus, It's an adjective meaning few or little. Eidos. Eidos, it's some kind of building. A temple, tomb, just a room, a dwelling for a god, or apparently in the singular, it's a dwelling of gods. In the plural, it's a house for people. So I guess when little house, Sibi, is the reflexive pronoun for himself. In stative case, so indirect object, for or to, I'm going with for. Fundaset. That is pluperfect, ase, I'll tell you pluperfect, the T, third person singular. And it is subjunctive, I think because of the cum. Cum, at least in certain contexts, takes the subjunctive for the conjunction. Other times it could do the indicative, but so third person singular, pluperfect active subjunctive. And it is formed from fundo, which could mean to like pour out, overthrow, cast to the ground, or it could mean to like lay out a foundation. So had laid out, I will say. And Socrates. That's just the nominative form of his name, Socrates. So when Socrates, our subject, fundaset, had laid out, parvas, a little eides, house, Sibi, for himself. When Socrates had laid out a little house for himself, build a nice little house for himself. Quius non fugio mortem si famam assequar et cedo invidiae. Kind of an object, kind of the object. Du modo absolvar Guinness. Yeah, okay. Hi, Hamlin. He's in my lap. He's running around a little bit. Hey, yo, sir. Say hello. Hamlin says hello. He's on my shoulder now. Okay, so quius is the genitive singular form for the relative pronoun, qui. It's the same for all genders, so it's just like whose, non, not. There we go. Fugio. Fugio is just the first person singular present active indicative, and it means to flee, so I flee, or I guess avoid. Mortem. Mortem is the accusative singular form from mors, which is death. And so I think the best way to put this is whose death I do not flee from, or maybe just avoid. See if famam, accusative singular from fama, which means fame, assequar. That's a fun looking word. I have not seen assequar before. And that is the first person singular future active indicative from assequor, which is a definitely very different looking. Third conjugation? Okay. And of course, that R ending, it looks passive, but really it's active because it is a deponent verb. Deponent verbs always look passive, which usually that R will tip you off that they're passive, but they don't actually have an active form, so they're just always active. And assequor means to like follow up on someone, come up to someone, even like reach or catch up to them, or it could mean to like catch up to them in a sort of quality sense. So you can, it's like equaling them or rivaling them, matching them. So if I will match his fame, et and Cato. Cato. I think... Yeah, Cato, Caterere. I think this is part of where we get recede from, the word recede. So Cato can mean to just move along, or to withdraw and yield. Or specifically, with the dative case, it could mean to cede, which we also get that word from this. I guess this is more directly with ceding or giving in, yielding to. And I, because this is just the first person singular present active indicative again, I give in to invidii, either the genitive singular or dative singular forms of invidia, because it's first declension. And that means envy, grudge, prejudice, hatred, dislike, infamy. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go with infamy. And I give in to infamy. Well, maybe not infamy. Let's say hatred. Dumodo. Dumodo is another word I have not seen outside of here. It's a conjunction that means, like, provided that, on the condition that something happens. So on the condition... Well, actually, no, I'm going to go with provided that absolvar. So interestingly, apparently Dumodo usually takes the subjunctive mood with its verb, or with, like, the next verb in the sentence. But this absolvar is not subjunctive. It's indicative. First person singular future passive indicative from absolvo, which is weird, but I guess this just shows that it doesn't have to. It just usually does take the subjunctive. But absolvar, so I will be first person singular future passive indicative, and absolvo means to release or discharge, to acquit, or even to absolve. Which, you know, another word we just kind of directly get from Latin. And kinis. Kinis means ash, whether that be from a cremation or from a burned down building or city. But this is the nominative form. It could only be nominative or vocative, so I think it's just as ash. And I give in to hatred, provided that I will be absolved as ash. So, when Socrates had laid out a little house for himself, whose death I do not avoid, if I will match his fame, and I give in to hatred, provided that I will be absolved as ash. I think that's kind of what Phaedrus, buddy. It apparently, like, if he thinks that he'll be as famous as Socrates, and if he does get as famous as Socrates, he's fine with receiving the same fate, because if you use acquitted, you know, Socrates had a pretty famous trial, which I think he's kind of referencing here with absolvar, saying that he would just accept the death like Socrates did. I don't know if he really would, but maybe this is also... Ooh. I wonder if it's also kind of speaking to his own persecution from Sejanus. Since we established with the fable Tiberius ad Atriensem that this is book 3. This is the one that I thought would have come after Augustus, and maybe was being written during his persecution. But Tiberius ad Atriensem, that referenced a story near the death of Tiberius, so I don't know when any of these were really written, but I wouldn't be surprised if this had been written if this is kind of about his persecution, maybe written around his persecution, and this is him kind of accepting if he's going to be persecuted like this, then he'll go out same way as Socrates. But enough about that kind of speculation. Ex populo sic nescio quis. I guess? I don't know. That's weird. Because I know what it means, I just don't know how exactly to mark it. Ut fieri solet. Why did I mark it like that? That's a verb. That's very obviously a verb. So, ex from populo, ablative from populum, which means people. One from the people. Supposedly there are people watching Socrates build this house, for some reason. I mean, he's got friends, I guess. I guess it's just a crowd of friends around Socrates. Or I guess people with the name of friend, you could say. Sic just means thus or so. And I think it actually put it... Well, I'm going the Latin word order first. Nescio, first person singular present active indicative. So just that's what you'll find in the dictionary. I do not know. Ne, not. Scio, no. Quis. The pronoun, meaning who. I think just interrogative pronoun. So I think I would put so first. So from the people, and as sort of a side, I do not know who. Ut depends on whether you've got the indicative or subjunctive next, and solet is indicative. So it is as fieri. It is the passive infinitive from facio, or the active infinitive from fio, but fio is just the passive form from facio. I don't know why it's like that, but to be done? Solet. This is from soleo, so it's just the third person singular present active indicative. And to be accustomed or used to, as he is used to being done. I'm assuming, because quaiso, I ask, so the guy is asking Socrates something. Because Phaedrus seems to leave out verbs of speaking a ton, or at least I put them later in the sentence, like we will see down here with inquit. But there's no verb of asking here. It seems to just be implied a lot. So I'm assuming if we wanted to put it in, we would say, so from the people, I do not know who, as he is used to being done, asked, so from the people, I do not know who, one asked, as he is used to being done. Basically, Socrates is used to being asked questions. I just wish that Phaedrus put the question asking verb in here. Do I want to put it in my translation, even though it's not in the Latin? I mean, I guess the verb of asking is technically him saying, I ask. Yeah, I'm keeping it like that. Closer to the Latin, sticking to it. Tam. Angustam. I think angustam, modifying domum. Talis vir. Bonus. Domum. So tam is an adverb meaning so much, to such a degree. So angustam is from the adjective angustus, which means narrow or small. Like kind of constricted. So I'm going to say small. Talis also means like so much, so great. So let's say such. And vir is just the nominative singular form from vir, which means a man. Bonus is the second person singular present active indicative of pono. And pono means to place or lay. But, at least poetically, it could mean to set up or build. So, why do you... Let's see, you... Since he hasn't technically built the house yet, he just had laid the foundation. Let's say set up... Set up? No. I'm gonna go with build. Build domum. The house. From domus. So I ask... There's no why, but it's definitely why. Bonus, you build... Well, really, why you, with bonus, tales vir, describing the you, but it's in the nominative, so it's really about the subject. But even then, that's not technically the subject, because it's nominative, but the verb is in the second person. Why you, such a man... Or, so great, really. I think I'm going to go with so great a man. Build, and not why, but why do you, so great a man, build tam, so angustam, small, domum, a house. And yes, if you do not realize or did not remember, domus, though it looks like it would be second declension, it's really fourth declension, and it is feminine. So angustam is the right gender to match gender, number, and case with domum. So why is he building so small a house? Utinam inquit, veris hanc amicis empleam. Utinam is just an interjection that I learned specifically from Sid Meier's Civilization 5 with Augustus. It means if only, or I wish that, or I would that, that kind of thing. Like, just hoping for something, like exclaiming that you, it's like, oh, if only. Whether sarcastic or not, maybe. I don't know, I've only heard, this is like the only actual place that I have seen it in actual Latin. Otherwise, it's just the Latin written for Civ 5. Let's do if only for now. In quotation marks, which I keep forgetting. And inquit means he said. You could also say that it he says, but, well, yeah, you could say that because it's inquit is both the present and perfect tense. It's the same form for both. But I'm going to say he said. That just sounds better for me. Veris is the dative or ablative form from veros, which is the adjective for true, real, or even just right or just. But I'm going to say true. Hanc is the feminine accusative singular form from hic. Hic, haec, hoc. The pronoun, that means this. So this, as in the house, still referencing the house because it is feminine. Amicis, we already saw amicos up there and amici here. Amicis is just the dative or ablative plural. Veris is also dative ablative plural, if you could not tell. So friends, impleam. Impleam is the first person singular present active subjunctive from empleo, which means to fill up, satisfy, satiate. So I'm going to say fill up, or I would fill up. Yeah. So let's first do he said, if only. Well, Now let's keep it like it. If only he said, impleam, I think it would, I think I want to put it, would I fill this house with true friends? I think the subjunctive in pleam is as a wish, the optative subjunctive, because he wants to be able to fill it with true friends, with real friends. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how to put utinam to have it sound right. Because like being kind of sarcastic with the friend doesn't sound right to me. I think let me put it, would that, he said, I fill this with real friends. I think something like that. Because utinam kind of works with the subjunctive, because it's kind of an exclamation of wanting something. Or maybe, oh, he said, I would fill this with true friends. Like, oh, I would fill this with true friends. I think I'm going to stick with that one. That one sounds the best to me out of what we've done so far. So far, we're at the end. But that one sounds the best for me out of all the possibilities I went through. So, he's building a small house because he wants to only have real friends in it. And, of course, true friends are rare. I don't think it really demonstrates the moral. It supports it, sure, a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like you can more explicitly demonstrate it with a fable rather than just kind of having Socrates say, there are so few friends. But I mean, I guess ex populo, there are a bunch of people around, yet Socrates is building a small house and he wants to fill it with true friends, I guess. I don't know. There's something slightly off to it with it for me. Still, at the very least, Socrates gets a quippin'. You need to have Socrates be quippy, especially with questions. Though he doesn't ask a question. Really, that's what you need Socrates to always do, asking questions. But yeah, despite that little, something feeling slightly off with it to me, I still find this fun. Socrates is always fun to see. And it was a nice short little fable. So, before ending off, let's do a reading of the Latin and a reading of the English. Vulgare amici nomen, sed rara est fides. Cum parvas aedes sibi fudasset Socrates, quis non fugio mortem, si famam assequar, et gedo invidiae, dumoro absolvar ginis. Ex populo sic nescio quis, ut fieri solet. Quaeso? Tam angustam talis vir ponis domum? Utinam, inquit, veris hanc amicis impleam. The name of friend is common, but the loyalty of a friend is rare. When Socrates had laid out a little house for himself, whose death I do not avoid, if I will match his fame, and I give in to hatred, provided that I will be acquitted as ash. So from the people, I do not know who, as he is used to being done, I ask, why do you, so great a man, build so small a house? Oh, he said, I would fill this with true friends. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I enjoyed this little fable, starring Socrates, the little question gremlin. You know, I did try to see if this story had a source in Plato or something, but I think Phaedrus is the originator of this fable, of this little anecdote on Socrates. The only other place I could find it was the Fables of Fontaine, who was a far later French fabulist, who probably got it from Phaedrus, so I think Phaedrus just made this one up. But anyway, I also hope that you enjoyed this little fable. We've got one that's longer next time, not as long as Lupus Arcanum, thankfully, because that was super long, but one that I think, like how this one might speak to Phaedrus's character and how he's reacting to certain things, I think the next one is supposed to be kind of Phaedrus venting as well in his poetry. So, look forward to that one. Until next time, remember to spay and neuter your pets, et valete, viatores.